Well, how do you do, buckaroos? How the heck are you? Didn't set up my fancy backdrop. I just do this one from the easy chair, man. So I decided to bring a growler home. The Saddlebock Imperial IPA, 10%, 100 IBUs. It says on the website. I don't think the bottle gives me any other information than that. It says finally crafted in Springdale, Arkansas. Nope. Fresh from the tap. There you go. I've actually had this one before, and I've done a couple videos for it over the last couple years, I suppose. I think just a couple months ago, I did a video over a growler, or not a growler, but a bomber of a 22 ounce. But I decided I'd pick one up here using my microfest glass. Yeah, I know it's technically a Pilsner glass. This actually holds a pint, but I like to use all my glasses, and I hadn't used this one in a while, so. I had it at the brewery not long ago, and I remember thinking maybe some lighting. It seemed like it was a little more golden. And here, this is clearly kind of more of a copper color. The aromas are very nice from this. The reason I wanted to do the video is because I've done it a couple times. This isn't the first growler. Sometimes I like to have, I'll do just, well, it might run longer than I intend to, but I do several short videos, then string them together to see how much, what differences I pick up as I work through the growler. It's a very floral Imperial IPA. It's a very aromatic Imperial IPA. There are some nice spice hints as well. Oh yeah, that's nice. I do like this one. You do feel that 10% a little bit, but it's not overly boozy. Just enough to let you know you are drinking a big 10% Imperial IPA. What this is a very well crafted Imperial IPA. It's very flavorful. It's very aromatic. What it isn't is, what it isn't is a trendy craft Imperial IPA. It's not one of those fruit salad IPAs. It's not light, crisp, and refreshing Imperial IPAs. This really is it almost feels more like a fall winter, even though I'm getting into spring here. It just because it's just big. It's just big. It's bold. It's in your face. But that's why I like it. I think I like the ones that are doing something different. I didn't get to try the mule team this year. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get up there. But I mean, in the past, that's what that one's been. It's just big. It's bold. It's in your face. Oh wow! Hadn't had this one in a while. Well, actually, that's not true. I just said I had it probably a couple months ago. In the bomber, it actually feels different. I'm gonna have to look up some pictures. It actually feels different now. I don't know why. Maybe it's my taster. Um, I've talked to some folks at the brewery that have been told that a lot of folks think it's the way craft beer is today, the way Imperial IPAs are today. It almost feels more like a barley wine. Um, could be, I suppose. Barley wines are typically, well, I mean, there really is no sense to, but barley wines are typically a little sweeter than this is. This really doesn't have that sweetness that most barley wines have, but it is a maltier Imperial IPA than most, and I think that's why a lot of them get that. So I'm going to keep working through this. I'm going to change glasswares too, see if I notice different aromas in different glasswares. How about that? I'm crazy like that, man. This is Beer Whisper, and I'll be back later. Well, how do you do, buckaroos? Continuing on with the growler video. It's funny. I said this had a kind of a copper color. Kind of does when you look at it there. But I noticed as I got near to the end of my other glass, it seemed more golden. I think my eyes are playing tricks on me. But anyways, so there you go. Yeah, when I hold it in certain lights, it appears more golden. It's a slightly cloudy. Um, Imperial IPA, which isn't unusual in the world of Imperial IPA. I believe it's unfiltered, unpasteurized. I use that large Pilsner glass. It actually holds a full pint on my first video. I was getting some aromas. But as you might expect out of this Belgian style glass, the Diamond Bear version, I have a Saddlebock snifter, but I used it yesterday, so it's currently being washed. So I probably won't use it for this one, man. But yeah, I mean, this is what these glasses are designed for. They are designed for aromas. You really can't feel the aromas big. But I think I'm going to try a Nonic Pint later and see if there's a difference with that one too. Oh, the aromas are very bright. I was getting some floral notes earlier. Now I'm getting some. I'm getting more fruit now. I'm getting some citrus and some stone fruit specifically. A little bit of grapefruit, hints of tangerine and lemon zest, and some apricot for sure. Oh, it's nice. You know what's funny is I don't know if it's funny, but I find it, if I would send this out, I could probably send this out to 12 beer geek friends, and six of them are going to love it, and six of them are going to hate it, because it's not what's trendy in the world of Imperial IPAs right now. It's big, it's full of malt, it is more of an old school Imperial, but I mean, they own it there at Saddleback. They're not trying to be a trendy brewery. His forte over there is mostly German styles, but so when he ventures out to a style like this, it's mostly a classic interpretation. It's big, it's malt sticky, but there is a large hop bite at the end. There's no doubt. It ain't plain. I think that's why I like it. You know, it's funny as people always ask, well, is it better than? Is it? And how does it compare to Heady Topper? How does it compare to Pliny the Elder? The problem with those comparisons for me is that they don't make sense. I mean, uh, a chef can do interpretations of a dish. You can have steak au pois here and steak au pois there. Well, which one is better? Well, they're both different. I mean, this chef did it this way. This chef did it this way. They both took the style. To take the idea of the recipe and done their version of it. Um, there isn't a better. I don't think Pliny the Elder or Hetty Topper or any other Imperial IPA I've had is better than this one. And when I say that, what I'm talking about is quality. I think this is a quality craft Imperial IPA. Now, if you like that lighter, fresher, fruitier, you're probably going to like those others I mentioned over this one. If you want a big, brash, bold, in your face, um, slap your mama Imperial IPA, then this is the one for you. But here's the thing: I don't understand why we can't like them all. I mean, I like different interpretations of a lot of different foods. I don't have one way I like my enchiladas fixed. I don't have one way I like my steak fixed. I don't have one way I like my breakfast in the morning. I like different things at different times, and I think that's what's great about having so many craft beer choices is that we can like different things at different times. I'm just not sure why some beer geeks think that one has to be better than the other, and why we have to grade everything. I'm Tone the Beer Whisperer. I'll be back with more Saddlebock Imperial IPA after these messages. Well, how do you do, Chris? So for the third pour, I decided to do something different. Rather than start the video the second I poured it like I did the other two, because I kept noticing changes in it as I went through it. I thought, well, I would take a picture so you saw what it looked like when I first poured it, but I waited about 20 minutes to start the video. As you can see, I'm not drinking very fast. I wanted to let it warm up and kind of breathe a bit. And again, this is the third different glass I've used, and I've gotten different aromas out of all three glasses. As you can imagine, I was getting, it was very aromatic out of the Belgian glass, or the tulip, but I was getting some aromas out of the the large pilsner that I used for the first pour that I did notice on the second pour. And here on this, whatever style glass you would call this one, if I'm my little mother's glass here, I'm getting it even a different way. That could be because I mean, I don't know. Could be a lot of things, I suppose. See, I guess the point I'm trying to make. I'm going a long way around the barn to do it as I usually do. But the point I'm trying to make is so many beer reviews beer reviewers do reviews over 2 ounces of beer. I mean, do you really have a beer dissected in 2 ounces? so many folks decide their beer purchases, either walk into liquor stores or look at the shelf and then they'll start looking up beer websites. Why do you do that? That just seems just incredibly ignorant to me. I mean, use your heads, look up the brewer's website, get the particulars on the beer. Don't take somebody's opinion. Use your own mind. Don't so many beer geeks are like lemmings. Oh well, if it's got a 95 on Beer Advocate, boy, I must like it. I mean, come on, folks. There's a lot of beers on that site, or all those sites actually, that are way overinflated. There's a whole lot that are underinflated. So the last pour, I was noticing a whole lot of for the first pour, I noticed a lot of the floral notes that this beer is supposed to have. Second pour, I was really getting a lot of fruit. I was feeling a lot of stone fruit and a whole lot of citrus. On the third pour, I am getting all of those things that I just mentioned, but I'm also feeling a lot of the malt. This is a 10%, 100 IBUs. This is maltier than a lot of Imperial IPAs are these days, and I think that's maybe why I like it as much as I do. There are. Mother's has two that are nice. They've got the doozy, which is a big tropical fruit salad, Imperial IPA that seems to be all the rage these days with those kids. Anyway, but they also have the Making Trouble, which is a little bigger, a little deeper. And this is one of those that, again, it's big, it's bold, it's brash, it's in your face. But it is. I don't feel the malt in a sweet way like some that I've had, where you feel some of the sweetness and cleans up. I'm not really feeling the sweetness, but I do feel that big malt in there. It's got a body. It's not just a whole lot of hop with nothing to hold on to. And I think maybe that's why I like it. It also doesn't use a lot of the trendy hops that everybody else is using. It would probably be wonderful if it did, but I like that it doesn't. I like that they've got a mind of their own at the brewery, that they're not trying to jump on every trend that comes their way. And sometimes you have to be a little bit different to last. I mean, what's trendy now wasn't trendy 5 years ago. It probably isn't going to be trendy 5 years from now. So those are doing those what everybody else is doing, tropical fruit salad IPAs. 5 years is going to be something else. I think an IPA like this, really, an Imperial IPA like this, really is a classic that's going to hang on. So I hope they don't change much. Again, I guess I do like when craft breweries do change things up a little bit. I know Mother's does that, and there's a lot of breweries that do. There are some that make a big deal about consistency. Well, it's consistent. That's why I like the macro products, Tom. They're consistent. Yeah, you know what? McDonald's is consistent. It doesn't make it a good product. And I think that's what's great about craft breweries is that they are changing things up. Things don't have to be exactly the same from year to year. But I got to tell you, in fact, I noticed I did it on the third pour as well. I've noticed. When I've looked at the color, it feels more of an amber or kind of a copper when I have a full glass. But it looks more of a golden. And I noticed when I poured it at the brewery, or when I've had it pour at the brewery, that it's more of a golden. Now I'm feeling more of a cloudy gold in there. So I don't know. But then again, I'm kind of colorblind. So what do I know? I'm the beer school. We'll talk to you later. Well, how do you do, Buckaroos? You may be noticing that pour number four, keep going smaller with the glass. I started with a pint Pilsner style glass, and then I went to a 16-ounce Belgian style or tulip glass. Then I had my mother's glass. Actually, this one probably holds about the same. I think both of those are probably a 10-ounce glass. But with the head, and I got about 8 ounces in each pour. I like this glass. My wife found this. I don't know. I can't remember if she got this at a Goodwill outlet or a DAV, but it's just an interesting glass. It almost looks like a parfait glass. It's an old Anheuser-Busch glass. I don't know the year on it, but I'm guessing it's fairly old. I just like it because it's a little different. I have noticed. I'll tell you what. There is something. I don't know that one glass is necessarily better than another, but you are going to get different aromas at different times. Different things will come at you in a different way through a different glass. All four glasses I've got something different on. Although I'm not one of those folks that think that the shaker pint or the classic American pint glass is inherently evil. I think a lot of those folks that think they're not getting aromas from that glass, if they did blind smellings, I guess, if they didn't know what glass they were getting it from, I don't think they could tell, to be honest with you. But it seems to be the trendy thing to say at the moment. But as I'm getting near the end of my growler here, the 64-ounce growler that I've been working on for about 2.5 hours. But yeah, I mean it's a 10 point. It's 10 point. It's a 10%, 100 IBU beer. So no, I had no intention of drinking it fast, but I wanted to kind of gradually see if I was getting different notes at different times, and to use a different glass for every pour to see if that mattered. I will tell you that I did remark on the last three pours that I wasn't getting that it is, although it is maltier than most Imperial IPAs that are out these days. I wasn't getting any sweetness from it really. I was just feeling the bigger malt presence, and for whatever reason, maybe it's my palate, maybe it's the glass, maybe my mind's playing tricks on me. Who the hell knows at this point? Maybe I'm getting buzzed because it is a 10%, 100 IBU beer, but I am feeling a little sweetness on this. It's almost like a honey-like sweetness right near the end. Oh, nice. But it is a nice beer. I do like this one a lot because I like it because it's big on all fronts, right? The popular Imperial IPA these days is all hops and no action. You know, they're very one dimensional, and those are what's very popular. And I'm not going to say they're bad because they're crafted well, but for me, they don't have enough dimension. They're all hat no cattle in my opinion. I mean, I'm not going to mention any names or insult anybody, but you have the first one and it tastes pretty good. But if you go back for a second beer, thinking nothing. And that's the problem. I think most craft beer drinkers these days, or a lot of them anyway, a nice percentage of them, uh, beer reviewers specifically will do a review over 2 to 3 ounces of beer. And many craft beer drinkers will only buy singles and never revisit the beer. So, do they really have a good grip on the beer if you only had one? I mean, look, I had Heady Topper once, I've had Pliny once. I'm not going to tell you I have a good grip on those beers. I know what I taste at the time. I know I like both of them at the time, and I know what flavors I tasted at that time. But I can't tell you that if I had 3 or 4 or 5 Pliny's that I might have, that there is certainly a good chance that I might have tasted something different. And I think that's the problem with folks that are tickers. If you're just trying to drink as many craft beers as possible and not buying six packs, I think you're missing out because you're not. I don't think you're really capturing all that the beer has to offer. Because I don't know how many times that I've found something different on the second, third, fourth, or fifth beer. And when I bought growlers like this, I mean, here I'm on my fourth pour. So if I only had an 8 ounce pour of this and I'm deciding how I like the damn beer, am I really giving you an accurate representation? And the answer is no. If you're paying a close attention to somebody's review on Beer Advocate where they drank only 2, 3, or 4 ounces of a beer, well, you've been misinformed. And that's the problem is people take that stuff seriously when they really shouldn't. Oh, there we go. So I've been ragging on BA a little bit. The funny thing is, that wasn't my intention when I first started drinking this, but it kind of turned out that way. It just frustrates me that people make up their minds over something silly. Don't pay attention to rate beer. Don't pay attention to Beer Advocate. Don't pay attention to me. Don't pay attention to any beer reviewer out there. Use your own head. Don't be a lemming. I mean, gosh, so many people are just sheeples these days. Use your own mind. Look at the brewer's website. Look up Saddlebock. Look up the numbers. Look up their description if you must. But buy. everything you can. Anytime you see something new, buy it and check it out for yourself. Don't pay attention to others. And buy six packs when you can. Buying one beer of something just doesn't do it. It's an unfair representation if you're writing a review. And even if you're just doing it for your own use, I mean, you don't understand. If you've only had one of a beer, or if you only had a few ounces of a beer, you haven't understood it. I mean, it's like your wife, you know. Did you really understand her after the first date? I mean, seriously, I've come to a beer with. We'll talk to you later. Well, how do you do, Buckaroos? This is the last installment of Saddlebock Imperial IPA, 10% 100 IBUs. Yeah, that's a nice pour there. These are my Schlafly Pale Ale glass. And I intentionally use different glasses for every pour because there are some that think you get a different aroma or it's better from a different glass. And actually, to be honest with you, out of every glass, I've gotten something different out of. I don't know that I can equivocably say that one glass was better than another, but I did get something different out of every glass. Here I have an old school pint glass. Not a shaker pint, as you could tell by the shape, but it is a pint glass. I don't know. I guess serious beer geeks really like to have the Belgian tulips, and I like them too. I have several, but I don't know. Sometimes I just like a glass like this, especially for a beer that allows itself to warm. I think it's better. May not be initially better on the aromas, but I think at some point as the beer warms, I think Nonic pints and glasses like this actually do encourage those beers to you get the aromas and the flavors better for some reason. I don't know. The bottom line is I like all glasses. I'm not discriminating against any of them, man. And here I am on my last pour of this beer from the Growler. And I noticed on the first pour that I got more of the floral notes. I was getting more of the citrus on the second pour. You know, here I am on the last pour. I'm back to the getting really those big floral notes for whatever reason. Maybe it's the glass. Maybe it's the way it was in the bottle. Who knows? Maybe it's my nose, man. Does it really matter at this point? It's a good beer. I think that's a problem with a lot of us beer geeks is that we obsess on the trivial rather than just enjoy the beer. So just enjoy the beer. Look how beautiful that pours though. It's got a nice head. Oh gosh, great color. And who doesn't enjoy a nice head? I know I mentioned on the first three pours that I wasn't feeling much sweetness, although it had a big malt body. But on the last pour and on this one, I'm not necessarily getting a lot of sweetness, but I'm getting just a touch of honey sweetness. Um, not in the finish, but somewhere between the middle and the end. But there's plenty of hoppage in this thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it is a maltier imperial than what most craft breweries are doing these days. And I said earlier that if you stayed with me for this long, I repeat myself, man. That if I sent this off to 12 beer geeks, six are going to love it, six are going to hate it. And then I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of middle ground. I think six are going to hate it because it's not that big fruity, tropical fruit salad imperial IPA that seems to be popular. And six are going to love it because, well, it is closer to what uh, the earliest examples of an imperial of a craft imperial IPA were. I mean, it's big, it's bold, it's big and malty. It's also big on the hoppage. It's just big everywhere. And for me, for me, it's just enjoyable. I just like the way everything comes together. It is big. It's big on all fronts, which makes it in some way oddly balanced because it does come together. And I think that's the problem with a lot of Imperial IPAs these days is they're nowhere close to balanced. They're so hop heavy. There's not enough malt to keep it together. That sometimes you enjoy the first beer, but if you pop that second one, it's not any good. And that's a problem, as I've said earlier in this piece, that so many so many beer reviewers are doing a beer review over 2 to 4 ounces that they love it for 4 ounces, but after 12, can you keep drinking it? Or if you have a second beer, is it still worthy? And I think that's the problem. That's why you should never listen to any beer reviewers, even myself. If don't listen to anybody. Trust your own mind, trust your own taste, buy what you like. And if you have to get on a rate beer site or a beer advocate site to buy a beer, there's seriously something wrong with you. I mean, there is. You've got to, you've got to understand your own mind. Don't count on somebody else's opinion to buy a beer. Quit looking at Untapped. Quit looking at Beer Advocate. Quit looking at rate beer. I mean, use some common sense. Use some individuality and quit being a sheeple. I'm the Beer Whisperer. I hope I've offended everybody this video. I'll talk to you later.